it or not. There is a moment meant for us, and now you made it, but I already played this. Not interested, open your eyes, let's get it done. Take my hand, just follow me. Shadow and me are one.
Welcome. This is another episode of USA Taekwondo Summer of Poomsae, and I'm Jason Poos with my partner and host, Sherman Nelson. Sherman, you're looking dapper as always.
Man, I just try to do what I can so people can understand. That's all.
I didn't understand any of that, but you do look good.
Man, I live for those silences. I just want you to know that those silences make my whole day. And I'm going to kick it off right now like this. Dad joke. Ooh. Did you know that one bird cannot eat an entire bowl of Fruit Loops? But
and
you
why?
Can.
God.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
How am I falling for this?
All right. Here we go.
This is Bush League, Bernice. This is Bush League. With that being said, welcome.
Quattro. Welcome. Listen, this is the junior female black belt division, yes. The remaining 50 competitors, because 20 of them have already gone. They went in the last episode, but now we're going to deal with the remaining 50. Jay, it is so cool to have this many competitors that are eager to sign up and train and prepare to compete for this virtual Poomsae competition. We said it before, I'll say it again. Shout out to USA Taekwondo for putting this together. This is a great way to keep your membership engaged. I'm proud of them for this.
Yeah, to me, it's been fun just again to see some of the competitors that I've got to see at the Grand Slam for Poomsae, back to see them. That's been honestly almost a year now. I mean, it's been 7-8 months, so let's just give it that. But they've grown. Their competition skills are better. Their performing skills are better, and of course, their technique and level has risen to really great heights. So very impressed. Congratulations to all of our competitors so far. But you're like you said, this is the prelims, and we've got 50 to 70 about to come up. So let's get right to it. Let's send it out to our commentators. This is the female junior black belt, last 50 competing for a spot in the semifinals. Out to you guys. We'll be back with more soon.
Hi everyone, and welcome to episode 4 of Summer of Poomsae. Today we have our junior female black belt preliminary continuing. In the standings so far, we have Megan Lee in first, Caitlin Reclusado in second, and Chiara Flotillas in third place. There are the rest of the standings, and we'll be ready for competitor number 21 coming up in just a moment. This is India Rocky.
Hello everyone, I am Miyako, Yerick, and I'm here with Coach Brand. And I'm very excited here for the rest of this junior female division. Reminder that we have 70 athletes in this division. So we had those first 20 go in the last episode, and now we're going to see the remaining 50 athletes in this division.
And Miyako, we just want to make sure all the viewers understand that the referees are the exact same as those that were in episode number 3. So the referees are the same. This is just a continuation of the same division broken down just for our episodes to be super entertaining and making sure that we're efficient from our point of view here in the production of it. So India receives a score of 6.87 for her first Poomsae take Ojang.
Right, and Coach Brand, I remember from the last episode that there were so many scores in the 7s out of those first 20 athletes. So this is going to be a really high ranking semifinals here, and India already coming in with a high 6. And some of those other cadet divisions, we saw the cutoff for semis was around a 6.8, 6.6. but I think it's going to be higher here for this junior female division.
Yeah, we had quite a few. We had Megan Lee with a 7.77 and Caitlin Reclusado with 7.67, Erica So with 7.58. So we have quite a few in that high 7 range. So this is going to be really super exciting to see how we do with the next 50 athletes. So this is India Rocky from U.S. Taekwondo Center. On her second Poomsae, she received a score of 6.87. Some variation there with the accuracy scores, and she finishes up with a 6.87 combined score. Up next, we have Yuri Min. And Buri is from California. She attends training at TG Taekwondo under master and coach Boyeon Kim. Really reaching up for her side kicks there. Great effort with those. And nice alignment as well. And everything's going to matter with the scores, right, Miyako? We have so many athletes in this division, 70. The details are going to really come into play. The different transitional pieces, the stance work, as well as the accuracy of all the hand technique. Buri received a nice score, 7.23.
Yeah, that's definitely nice and high. I think that she's going to do pretty well here. I see in her fun facts that she was 3rd place in female junior team in the 2019 Pan Am Open, and that she enjoys baking. I think front kicks are probably pretty strong for her. It's lucky that she has these forms to really show those off. Really making sure that she locks out the base leg will help. I can't tell if it's the pants, but I feel like some of her front stances look a little bit open and wide. So making sure that the distance between stances is good, really keeping that heel on the ground for some of these kicks.
Yeah,
but she got a 7 too, so judges not minding.
Both with the kicks and the transitions, it's important for athletes to keep their heels on the ground. Gonna go ahead and pivot on the ball of the feet. She receives a slightly lower score for her second Poomsae. First one was 7.23. She receives a 7.0 for Chojong and ends up with a 7.12. So this is a familiar setting here in Connecticut. This is Sarah Rexonki. And Sarah is from World Champion Taekwondo in Fairfield, Connecticut. She's coached by Master Gunsu Kim and Master Kwanjin Ha.
And she has nice long legs, so really trying to use those, showing off the groundedness and length on some of these front stances.
Nice reach on those side kicks, tons of potential with that kick right there. So I'll just strong start with Taeguk Ojo.
Sarah competed at the 2020 U.S. Open in freestyle pairs, and she won a bronze medal. So freestyle recognized athlete here. Sarah gets a 7.2 on that first form.
And it seems just about right. So she had really nice extension on those kicks, so her presentation scores were pretty high. So now she's starting off with Taeguk Chojung here, trying to really reach up for those front kicks.
I think she could open up her arms a little bit more on the push blocks, really just use the full length of her arms to take up as much space as she can.
Finishing nice and strong on this last line of Taeguk Chojung. Those kicks look pretty good. So that was probably the most accurate line of any of the Poomsae, either of the two Poomsae that she did. That last line looked really strong. So she receives a 7.1 for that. As we mentioned before, there's a lot of accuracy issues that come up with Chojung. Can be a little bit of a quagmire for the athlete. She ends up with a 7.15. And already we have very many athletes with scores of over 7s in this division.
준비.
She's already the
시작!
17th athlete, I think, that has received a score of over 7.
And this is number 24, 24th athlete, Samantha Valdez, and she is from El Cerrito and trains at TG Taekwondo, coached by Master Bo-Hyun Kim. We just saw a teammate just a couple ago from the same location, and Samantha placed 3rd in female team division in 2019 and 3rd place in the first online NCTA 2020 competition. That was just a couple months ago. So already great experience as a junior, has some online experience, and she pulls out a 7.63 here on that first form. That is very high, close to the top 3.
Yeah, and she does difficult things very, very well in that Poomsae. She was able to really push out on those side kicks, nice and high,
시작!
and also recover with balance, which is difficult to do in that Poomsae. Her stances are nice and low and grounded, which makes her look very smooth as she works through her way through Taegu Chiljang.
She has really clean transitions. Her heels are not coming up on that 180 transition. It was one of the cleanest that I've seen so far.
바로.
And yeah, very strong performance here for Samantha Valdez.
차렷.
Well, another high score, 7.57. We'll put her near the top of the standings when we combine that with the first one, which was a bit higher. So she receives a score of 7.6. So in first place, we have Megan Lee, followed by Caitlin Reclusado, and Samantha Valdez just pushed herself into 3rd place, followed by Chiara Flotildes. And here's the rest of the standings. You might want to go ahead and pause and take a picture, or just stay here long enough to be able to discuss it with everybody you're watching it with. This is Maya Wasaki, and looks like she also is from U.S. Taekwondo Center in Colorado Springs.
It's great that we have so many teams competing together. I mean, separately, obviously, but together in the same tournament.
And she is coached by Master Sean Jung. Yes, it's great. We have had many athletes looking like they're maybe even as they're competing here, maybe doing the recording as a group, maybe one at a time to stay safe and healthy, but definitely having that support is going to be a huge factor for them, just in their overall enjoyment of the event, and maybe even impacting the score as well. So Maya ends up with a 6.77 for Taegu Chiljang. Quite a bit of a spread there in the accuracy scores.
Yep, and I do just want to reiterate again, even though this division is split into 2 episodes, the judges scored all 70 athletes in one go. They sat down and scored all of them at the same time. So same judges for all of these athletes in this division. A little bit of a heel pickup there. That 180 transition seems to be difficult for a lot of athletes, even in this really talented division here.
And those little things are going to matter in the standing. So hopefully she can spend a little time with her coach, go over the video, talk it through, and then strategize between now and the next USAT event. She received 6.57 for the second Poomsae Chiljang, and her combined score is just about to come up, 6.67. So it looks like most of these athletes, or actually all of these athletes, have a really good understanding of the direction of the Poomsae, what the specific techniques are, but there are definite specific start and end points for each of the techniques that may need to be reviewed, and then how to transition from one side to the next. Looks like that would be a good spot for the coaches and the athletes to have a discussion. This is Marilee Ganter. And Marilee is from World Champion Taekwondo Woodridge in Connecticut, and her coach is Master Sean Joe. Wow, great score, 7.47. What a nice start for Marilee.
Yeah, and Marilee has a really interesting competition history. She competed at ATU in 2019, where she got first place in pairs with Bryson Laborn, who I believe we also saw in the junior division. And they got to go compete at the Kim Moon-young Cup in South Korea, where they won first place. And then through a local Rhode Island tournament, she was able to be invited to compete at the Korean Ambassadors Cup in South Korea. So that's really cool that she had those opportunities to go travel to Korea and compete in tournaments there, where it seems she did really well. So top level athlete here with recent international experience, and she's coming out very strong. Looks like it definitely helped her training.
Great posture. Like every time she stops, and it's just the ending part of the movement in a frame, you just glance at it, every time shoulders are right over her hips, and she looks super strong at that end point. 7.27 for her second Poomsae after the first one of 7.47. So of course she ends up with 7.37, another strong score in the middle of episode 4 here, this junior female black belt preliminary round. So this is just the first round. The top 50% of this group move on to the semifinal round in a future episode.
I'm a part of Team East. My coach is Master Suji Khan.
This is Destiny Nodarse, and she is from New Jersey. She trains at Team East with Master Suji Khan.
Is really high flexible front kicks. Those are going way over her head.
Her accuracy was great, coming forward with all of those hand techniques facing the judges. Those look really great. So now high reach on that side kick, great position on those as well. Strong finish. Wow, that looked fantastic.
Sure.
7.53 for that first one. And a much smaller gap now between what the judges have to say about it. So nice solid scores there. 7.53 for Destiny.
Destiny also has competed at the 2019 Canada Open Championships and the junior and individual pairs Poomsae. And she also competed at the U.S. National Championships, where she got a bronze medal in junior team Poomsae. So again, lots of experience. I feel like it really does just help you be calm under pressure when you have that international exposure, high-level tournaments, and it just lets you not be phased. And this is a very different style of tournament. We've had lots of interviews and backstories, what is it like training during COVID, but I think being able to turn the pressure on for yourself to get these recordings is a really big deal.
Oh.
Wow, another high score for Destiny Nodarse, 7.57. So she's going to be quite high in the standings, which we'll show you in a few minutes, 7.55. So about every 6 competitors, we'll show the standings for you, so you can take a quick look and maybe pause it there and have a little conversation with those watching with you. This is Charlene Wong from California. She's from Team M Taekwondo, and she's coached by An Hui and Long Huyen. Also very accurate as she comes forward on that front line, which is directly facing the referees as they're scoring. So hopefully they'll take note of that. And a nice extension on these side kicks. She's also able to transition with her heel down, going from one side to the next, which is really noticeable. Especially in this division where we've seen many of the athletes have a little bit of a challenge doing that. 7.43, nice solid score for her first one. That's Charlene Duong.
And Coach Bryn, maybe you can talk a little bit, since you've been to world championships and big tournaments over the years. I know that, as athletes, as we do side kicks, we're always trying to get that vertical side kick, but it seems like it's not always given a great score. So are athletes now trying to push just under vertical? Are they trying to push forward on the side kick with their hips? What's kind of a good goal for a side kick for all those athletes practicing at home?
Well, first thing is we have to make sure we're working within what our body is capable of doing. We try to shoot for the moon, right? Lose our balance on the recovery. That's not good. Or if we're just taking a chance, just trying to throw it up, we just want to make sure that we have a clean chamber, clean extension, clean retraction, all in alignment. And that's always a challenge. Sometimes we can get one of those three things, clean chamber, extension, and retraction, but not all of them. So Charlene Duong, like many of the athletes, her score went down just a bit in the second one. She receives a 7.27 after a 7.43. So a combined score there of 7.35 for Charlene Duong.
Yeah, just in my team's workout the other day, my coach was like, you have to practice over and over and over so you don't kick and pray when it comes down to tournaments. You have to drill it in until your body knows comfortably that you can retract and land in that stance correctly.
Exactly. We don't want to just throw it up there with a big fat hope. We want to make sure that we're going to be able to retract that and recover strong to the next technique and be able to do the next technique with a lot of power rather than just kind of falling into it. This is Victoria Sue. And Victoria Sue is from California here, and she trains with Duong Ballet under Coach Master Song Lee.
바로
Victoria, also a big competition record here, even just in the last couple of years. At the Grand Slam, she was second place in junior female team, and she gets a 7.53 here on her first form.
Yeah, that's a great score, but at the same time, we have many athletes at about that same level in this preliminary round, so it's going to be quite a battle to see who's going to be in the top 50%.
That's right, because so many of our scores are in the 7. That semis cutoff might be a 7.3, 7.2. We don't know. We still have many more athletes to go tonight. But I think that Victoria here making a really good case on why she should go to the semis.
Right. Some of the other divisions were more like 6.68, 6.7, something like that. But this one is going to be quite a bit higher, maybe a whole point higher for many of the athletes.
바로
So Victoria Sue just wrapped up a very smooth Taeguk Chojang. And for that, she receives a 7.43. So it's not many athletes in this division have been able to score higher with their second Poomsae. She receives a final score of 7.48.
All right, Johnny Nguyen here, 2020 U.S. National Team, Denmark World Championships, 30-plus team division with Master KJ and Master Jin.
My name is Jin Kim from Colorado. And then I made USA national team with Master KJ, Master Johnny Nguyen for plus 31 male division.
Hi, my name is Kwang Jin Ha, known as KJ. I'm from Connecticut, Fairfield. I made a 2020 World Male over 30 team with Master Jin and Master John. This is how we train for team trial. As you can see, I am in Connecticut East Coast. Johnny is in Arizona State. Jin Kim is in Colorado. So it's very hard for us to just meet for practice. So we made a pact that I believe that individually strong will benefit for whole team. So we make sure we train daily, individually at their studio. And then whenever we have a competition coming up, we meet 2 or 3 days early before the competition and we train together at the tournament site.
Yeah, like Master KJ said, it was super difficult because we put so much time and effort and training in to get to where we're at. So truly it was It's devastating to find out that Worlds was canceled. So, we just got to go back to the drawing board and make sure and stay positive so we can come back for the next one.
So I remember, do you guys remember, we promised before team trial, and then let's practice really hard until we lose 10 pounds.
Yes.
Lose. So that much try really hard. So trying best. So let's do it. Do you remember? That's why we made national team. Yes, I'm really proud.
Yes.
Also, as the oldest member of our 3-member group, as a older brother, like Hyung, I have to remind them because everybody on their studio, they are very busy, just like I am. So I have to send a message and make sure you guys training today, tomorrow, send the video, and it's hard. I don't want to push them because they're not children. They're also all as me. So we respect each other's decision. And they got family, they got a studio. I understand as much as they understand me because we all work at the same postmaster. So it was very difficult, but we had a fun time, gathered together before the tournaments, train. We also bring our students to competitions. So it was not easy for us to get meet. It's not just we have a student, we have parents, we have to deal with the student training, their competitions. Sometimes when I'm done with my student competition, I have to wait for Johnny's student compete. So it's very difficult time to manage. So usually we meet around 10 p.m. when everything's done. We train and then we go to late dinner and so on.
What do you think, guys?
We are the BTS, BTS are really popular K-pop group. We are the BTS. BTS means best taekwondo 사범님.
Oh, I like that. Master Jin.
I'm sorry, Master Yang. I use this word.
Good looking too as BTS, right, Master Jin?
Yes, sir.
We get bad comments about that.
Do not stop training, guys. Keep training. Your time will come. My wrestling coach always said to me, those who stay will be champions. So people will come and go, athletes will come and go, but if you stay, you'll make it on top. So just stay positive, keep pushing, and stay in good spirits. Poomsae is much harder than it looks. I know a lot of people like the sparring aspect or whether or not it's the demonstration aspect of Taekwondo, but Poomsae is one of the hardest ones, and I think it brings out a lot of competitiveness when you want to be the best in Poomsae. So I challenge all the sparring guys to do some Poomsae, get your Poomsae on. It's a great way to exercise, to challenge your mind, build your mentality, and also stick with the roots of Taekwondo. Taekwondo for me, I feel like you have to be well-rounded. It's not just sparring, it's not just Poomsae, but it's having a balance of both. So I challenge everyone to try it. It's not as easy as it looks.
Okay, Poomsae showing us how much you train Taekwondo, how much you train really hard. So we can see your kicking, hands technique, breathing, mental, physical strength, and the balance. You can see everything. So many people, they give up during their journey. So I think a winner is who never give up. Yes, that's most important thing.
Those who are competing in Summer of Poomsae, wish you guys good luck. I've been watching every single division. It's very fun to watch. I like how they put episode 1 and then going back to another episode 2 to see all of people in the USA. Also, I like to see how each school look like. They're very fun to watch. Oh, this school has this in the background. I wonder how they get that. It's very fun to see because I never had a chance to see other studio. There's a lot of good athletes there. We have a lot of new athletes are starting Poomsae. So again, good luck guys, and I will cheer for all of you guys.
Good luck to all the athletes in the Summer of Poomsae. Remember, your time will come. Just keep pushing, keep training hard, and stay in good spirits, guys.
Everybody, good luck, and then keep it up. Fighting.
Fighting.
This is Yul Kwan, our 30th competitor.
준비
She's from Mock Martial Arts and Team M Community Poomsae program.
시작.
She is coached by Master Sungwoo On and On Hui and Long Wen. So she's in this super cool garage training space. Like many of our athletes, they are sending their recordings from all kinds of unusual and fun places, both indoor and outdoor.
Right, especially you were mentioning it's really hot in California right now, depending on where you are in the state. There's these stay-at-home orders. A lot of places are closed down. They may not have access to their dojang. So families really trying to find space for their kids and their athletes to train.
Sure.
And this looks like a great open space.
And she receives a 7.3 for that first Poomsae. Yeah, she's got a nice mat there. All the comforts of home
시작.
right there. She's got a fridge. There's, I'm sure, a lot of cool beverages that she can dip into if she needs to while she's training. Some of these spaces look pretty small, but this one looks very nice. Like she can complete the whole Poomsae without having to be concerned about running into something or being distracted by something that might be in the way.
All right, and Chiljong really is one of the forms that uses up a lot of space, both vertically and horizontally. You come forward a lot, and then you have this top bar here that goes all the way across at the top, and then we have to go all the way back to the back. So good use of space. I think she could use a little bit more control in her core to really stabilize her upper body as she's doing some of these motions.
Sure.
But I think that was a really nice performance overall.
So 6.97 on the second form there, Chiljong. I saw her really trying to power up on the last line there. So she receives a total score of 7.13. Here are the standings now. We have Megan Lee in first, followed by Kate Reclusado, Samantha Valdez, Chiara Clotildes, and Erica So. And we're going all the way up to number 30 here with these standings. And of course, we have 70 total competitors. So we have quite a ways to go. It's not, we don't know right now where the cutoff will be, of course, because we'll be taking the first 35 athletes in this division.
봄새 준비. 태극 5점.
This is Tessa Lawson from California. She trains at QE Taekwondo under master instructor Robert Vargas. She's taken a slightly slower pace to make sure that she finishes everything exactly where she wants to.
Yeah, I think she could also extend her front stances a little bit. They look a little short for her body, maybe recently growing, just needs to extend them by a few inches.
Yeah, I think she has a basic idea. Probably her next steps will be to try to connect all the steps together, create a little bit more rhythm and flow. So she receives a 6.43 for her first Poomsae.
And we've mentioned many times, but these episodes are going to be such a great resource for the athletes to go back and watch and really be able to learn what is scoring well, what did I do that maybe I could do better, pick up on things from other athletes. But there's also a ton of other resources. There are instructional videos on the USA Poomsae website, and there are also a bunch of national team members who've created instructional videos or training videos, Facebook groups. So really reach out there and try and get as many resources as you can. There's a lot out there for you to learn.
It's fantastic that we have athletes of so many different levels, people just getting their feet wet in competition and others who have quite a bit of experience. So there's something in this event for everyone. That is Tessa Lawson finishing up. Children, she received a 6.43 and a slightly lower score here, 6.17. And her combined total is 6.3. Up next, we have Amber Carlson.
Hello, my name
And Amber's from Colorado. She trains at U.S. Taekwondo Center under Master Ho-Jun Park.
And my coach is Master Ho-Jun Park.
Cadet, 준비. 시작.
In Amber's spare time outside of Taekwondo, she enjoys snowboarding and singing. Probably a lot of good snowboarding out there in Colorado.
We talked earlier in an earlier episode about the number of musicians we have as Taekwondo Poomsae athletes, which is great. So their sense of rhythm and timing that they get from music, I'm sure helps them here in their Poomsae. A strong start there with Take Ojang.
I want to mention just really quickly on that last move for Ojang, when you do the stomp, make sure that your right foot comes down at a 45-degree angle, not straight. It will be a point there, and then it could mess up your landing. But Amber gets a 7.1 on her Ojang.
시작.
And I do want to say Amber did it correctly. Just keep an eye out on that last move.
You're starting off with some nice high front kicking technique and then switching to these tighter stances. We want to stay low in that Poomsae. You want to make sure those knees don't go up and down. So that may be something that the athletes want to take a look at. It's kind of easy to bounce back and forth in those, but we want to keep it nice and steady. And that was that difficult turn there in Chojang. Some athletes have that challenge of getting to the other side without their heel popping up. So maybe good for many athletes to take a look at. Those who are scoring very high, take a look at how they're transitioning from side to side.
Cadet.
So that was Amber Carlson. She receives a second score of 6.97. Like many of the athletes, a little bit lower than her first Poomsae, and finishes with 7.03. So she joins many of the athletes in this division with scores over 7. Up next, we have athlete number 33, Allison Chong. And Allison is from O's Taekwondo Center and Team Elite, and she's coached by Master Andrew O. Wow, great extension off of those side kicks.
Yeah, those are some of the highest side kicks that I can remember for this division.
Yeah, and the front kick well over the head, moving toward the rear, which is great that the referees were able to see that well over her head on that last front kick. 7.5 for Allison Chun on Taekwondo Gojang.
Really high score. Yep, definitely in the top 4 or 5 or so. And she also has a very long competition history, even in just the past 2 years. She has already competed at the California Taekwondo Association's online tournament and the Oceania Open as well, and has gone to the Grand Slams where she was a finalist for individual, and also did team where she got second place in phase 2. So lots of good experience. And I think it's just coming through. She's very clean. I like the style that she's taken.
Yeah, that's great that she has that other online experience to draw from. You know, maybe the first couple of times around with submitting videos, you go through a few bumps here and there. So by this third time, it looks like for her, she seems to have a comfort here.
Whoa!
Wow. I think this is the highest score that we have seen in the entire Summer of Poomsae. Am I right?
Yeah,
Miyako?
yeah.
8 points. Wow, ends up with an 8.05 and boosts her way, way into first place here. That was an incredible score. 8.6. I've never seen that before in Summer of Poomsae.
시작.
Amazing. Wow, that was Allison Chung with that score of 8.6. And here is Ewan Jung.
Yeah, she trains with her family, the Jung Taekwondo. Actually, actually. I should look up the actual name of their school here. I just know that their whole family trains together at Jung's Youngin Taekwondo. She has 2 older sisters who competed in the Senior 1 division, did very well, and just showed off some nearly vertical side kicks. Her brother also competes in the Senior 1 division. I'm sure once she ages into that Senior 1, they could have a massively talented Senior 1 team.
That was some great extension on those side kicks, and she receives a 7.57. Little bit of gap for the presentation, anywhere from 3.9 to 4.6.
시작.
And here's Yoon Jung on her second form. Those front kicks are just way up there.
And we got to see an interview from one of her sisters in an early episode. I think that she said they just recently got their citizenship, and so they were only able to compete in U.S. team trials just a couple of years ago, and now many of them made the 2020 national team. Didn't get to go to Denmark, but here, still competing, really showing the U.S. What they have to offer. And I think it's to the U.S.'s benefit that now the Jung family are U.S. citizens.
Yeah, she moves very smoothly as she's going through these Poomsae. It almost looks effortless. So it's Yoon Jung. For second Poomsae, receiving a score of 7.53. And again, a bit of a gap between the presentation between 4.0 and 4.5. She gets a final score of 7.55. Still trying to get over the competitor before that, Allison Chong, with that 8.6 in Chojang. Wow. This is Youngso Lee.
시작.
Oh, this is Youngsa. I train with Youngsa. She's on my team.
It looks like she's from CW Taekwondo and is coached by a master and national team head coach, Dan Chuang.
Yep, Youngsa's going to be a senior in high school this year. And she's been part of our competition team out of Boston for a few years. It's really great to see her now in this junior division. She'll age up into Senior 1 next year. And she likes K-pop and bubble tea, as we all do.
자.
That's Youngso Yi receiving a score of 6.9 on that first Poomsae.
시작.
I've been working with Youngsa as like a mentor, and they zoomed me in so I could be in the room for the recordings on a computer, and we forgot to put the mats up there to cover the mirrors on the first time, and she was having a good run, and we had to stop halfway through to make sure that we could cover up the mirrors to really give a good space for this performance.
She's doing a really good job in Taegu Chojang and finishing really strong on this line.
프로.
Yeah, I know she worked hard on really trying to make sure the judges had something to see in that last bar.
Oh,
And
wow.
she
She's one of the few competitors actually got a higher score on Taegu Chojang than she did on Taegu Ojang. So 7.03, finishing with a score of 6.97. Real close to the sevens, and that might be near the cutoff point, at least so far. It's around that 7 range, I'm guessing. This is Victoria Bayer-Luz.
C. Check.
Victoria is from California. She trains at Han's Taekwondo Academy, and her coaches are Master Francis Esposo and Master Gary Legaspi.
This is such a tight space here.
Yeah.
I feel like it's just 3.5 of those mats wide, but she's making it fit.
Yeah, she made use of every single inch, cutting down some of that mat in order to get, I don't know, I'm guessing about maybe 6-8 more inches on either side of that nice tubular shaped room.
Check.
And Victoria Luz receives a score of 6.23. Quite a big gap there for the accuracy from 2.1 to 2.9. So that's
C.
definitely going to be
Shut.
a huge impact on that score. There's nice high kicks going into Taegu Chiljung here.
Yeah, but you can notice from her tiger stances to her kicking height, her head didn't come up. So she might want to sink a little bit lower in her stances to really show the difference when she stands up for the kicks. That should be a pretty big difference.
Yeah, hopefully she'll prioritize that in the future. A little bit longer and locked in front stance, a little bit lower back stance for sure. Yeah, as well as a Juchunso here, the forward stance, a little bit shallow. So if she can drop that down,
Oh.
I'm sure will raise her score.
Jet.
And she receives a 5.53 for Taegu Chiljung. We'll probably end up in the high fives here for a, 5.88 for her combined score. We're going to show all the way up to number 36 now. So we're just over halfway through our division, which has a total of 70 athletes in this preliminary round. Eventually, this will be cut down to the top 35, and they'll move into the semifinals.
Stop.
Another familiar backdrop here.
So this is Anwen Rhodes. And of course, out of U.S. Taekwondo Center in Colorado Springs. And she too is coached by Master Sean Jump. So it looks like she's been working on the alignment of her side kicks, which look pretty good. The next step will be to raise those up a bit if possible. She gets a 6.57 for Taegu Gojang.
Stop.
So from the referee's point of view, hopefully the posture is straight on these lines here going from right to the left. Sometimes the athlete's shoulders are a little bit forward, leaning forward, as in this case. We want to make sure we just stack up the shoulders right over those hips so it doesn't appear that we're falling forward. Doing a good job though on this rear line, trying to finish nice and strong.
바로. 차렷.
She receives a 6.5 for Taegu Chiljung. And her final score is 6.53 for Anwen Rhodes. This is Abigail
시작.
Alkaya. And Abigail trains in Texas. She's with HK Taekwondo and Texas Forge. She is coached by Master Hyun Kim and AJ Munoz.
Nice side kick. I think she's showing some really great fundamentals here. Able to generate power, pretty good openness, good volume on the hand motions. Could sink a little bit lower in some of the stances, but a lot of potential here, I think. And Abigail gets a 6.97 on Ojang.
시작.
Good job staying low in those transitions. A little bit of upper body movement as she was finishing some of the transitions, but really working to keep those stances grounded. I know that's hard and takes a lot of work and muscle building to engage those knees and lock out the back leg.
She looks like she's at a comfortable pace for where she is as an athlete, trying to make sure that every single step is important. Looks like she's trying to begin and end right at the exact same spot at the end of the Poomsae, and making sure she's, approaching it very smartly. So she has a score of 6.97 for Taegu Chiljang and finishes with a score of 6.97. So we've had 3 6.97 scores in the last 5 competitors.
To me.
This is Grace Ryu, and she is from Eagle Taekwondo in Southern California. She's coached by Master Jung Jin.
She did a really great job of making sure that those blocks and strikes all came to the center line. Not only should there be a difference between the shoulder height and the philtrum height, but they really have to cross to the center and not be in front of the shoulder. And she's doing a really great job at all of these accuracy. Good extension on those side kicks and turn on the shoulders.
Yeah, she sure did. So it looks like she's done some good practice, making sure that everything is lined up exactly where it needs to be so that the referees looking for the front view see that accuracy. Wow, 7.67.
There, Judge 2 gave her a 3.6 on that accuracy out of 4. That means that he only deducted 0.4, so 4 little minors. And just for all of the grandparents or friends and family who might be watching who don't follow Poomsae that closely, the accuracy is done live, and it's 4 points out of the total of 10. And the judges will sit there with like a little video game, and they click away the minors of 0.1 and majors of 0.3 while the athlete's performing. Then once they're done, they go in and do the presentation for 6 points out of 10, so 60%. And that's broken up into 3 categories of 2 points each, which are your power, your rhythm and flow, and your expression of energy. So Grace here, another huge score. That's higher than her first one. That's a lot higher.
Ends up with 7.73 for her combined total score. So she's quite high in the standings here. We'll see those in just a couple of minutes. Again, we there's about every 6 competitors, so that should be coming up soon. This is Laurel Stewart in a setting that we have seen often now. She trains in New York with Team Champions, and she's coached by Master Hyun Suk Lee.
And Coach Brand, when you train, since you're a national team athlete coach as well, how much Poomsae specific training versus cardio training versus strength training? What's your kind of regimen look like?
Well, that's a great question. But first, let's get Laurel's first score for Taegu Chiljang. 5.87. So I think it's important to have a balance of cardio strength for sure. Working on stamina is important. So I do quite a bit of running. And then for strengthening, I do quite a bit of weightlifting. And then the Poomsae itself, looking into kind of detailed parts of it, the kicking techniques and each of the individual movements, and then making sure to spend quite a bit of time on the entire Poomsae, right? Trying to do it like it would be done at a competition. So using the correct speed. Oftentimes, athletes slow it down, kind of go piece by piece, and then it's hard to get them revved up for that competition level speed. So I think all of those things are important too. We have to balance them out, both the kind of base stamina training, whether that be running or something like running, as well as a weightlifting or something very similar to that. That in combination with the Poomsae training for the kicking techniques, the individual hand techniques, and then putting it all together. All of that is something we have to balance out in our training week. So Laurel Stewart receives a score of 5.9 for that second Poomsae, a little bit higher than her first one of 5.87, and receives a total score of 5.88. So maybe a little bit more work on those stances would surely help her score, maybe dropping down the height of the stances and maybe lengthening those out. This is Charlotte McKittrick. And Charlotte trains in Colorado, again, at the US Taekwondo Center with Coach Sean Jung. Well, I don't know what his class is like, but it looks like it's huge and full of Poomsae athletes who are really wanting to compete.
Yeah, I've seen it. They bring a ton of athletes to nationals. They have a demo team as well. They've been showing up to a lot of tournaments recently, and they are all just improving dramatically over the past few years and really coming out and putting in the work. Sean is a good resource, and Charlotte here getting a 6.6. A little spread on the accuracy, but a good presentation score and getting a 6.6 there.
Yeah, I think next step for her is just to make sure, however high you kick, just make sure that you can recover after those kicks. You know, not take that risk, that gamble, if you can't land it in the next stance nice and clean. We don't have that same issue here with Taylor Chill jumps. She looks pretty comfortable here. Moving down this front line.
Right, and the other thing about these US Taekwondo centers out in Colorado is they have a lot of space, so they can have really big dojongs. I visited one when I was in the area for the Grand Slam, and I believe it had like 2 whole separate rooms of training centers that would have been massive spaces where I live in the city. But I mean, just they have such a great resource there, so they can have a lot of people. Charlotte here getting a 6.53 on her second form.
That would be heaven. That would be glorious to have a huge training spaces. She ends up with a score of 6.57. So here we are back again with Chloe Ng. And she is, well, I say back again because we are back at the same training space where we've been many times. It almost feels like home.
And this is Eva. Eva, we Google translated your name.
Oh, I'm sorry. I said this is Chloe Ng, but this is actually Eva, and I'm going to go for it unless you do.
No, go for it, Coach Brand.
Okay, I'm going to try it out at center boot.
Senor, yo. You know, I took French for like a year and a half, and I cannot pronounce his name. So Eva, we are sorry. You did a great ojong.
I'm sure this is not the first time somebody's massacred your name. We're sorry. She trains with Master Boyoung Kim in California. She received a great score of 7.23, even though we were distracting her at the time.
Stop!
She's definitely pushing, trying to reach as high as she can on those front kicks, but she is sacrificing a little bit of stability, and she had some extra movement in the shoulders as she was reaching. So calming that down, really just getting the leg to fly up there without any other body parts moving will help the presentation on those kicks. But otherwise, she seems to have really good body control here.
Yeah, a little bit leaning forward on some of these finishes here, so I want to make sure we clean that up a little bit. And I don't think that's going to be that tough for her to do. And also some of the transition work, hopping heels and so on and so forth that we've seen from many of the athletes. I think that will help her boost up her score a little bit if she can clean that up. So she received a 7.1 in spite of that. She was a little bit higher on the first one. She received a 7.23 on the first score. Now she has her combined score coming at 7.17.
Hi, my name is Twa Win, and I am the division that I compete in is the female under 50. I also compete in the mixed team over 30, and I also compete in the pairs over 30 also. So that's plenty of things to keep me busy. As far as like making the team, it is always, you really never know what's going to happen. It's always an honor to make the team. My teammates and I have been trying to follow the news about Worlds, like every day getting, we would check in with each other. Did you hear something? Did you get any more information? So it was, I believe, my teammates and I somehow through that or email, I'm not sure, we found out that Worlds was going to be canceled. And we talked to each other about, is it really canceled? Is it postponed? And I just recall it being a bummer is probably the best word that I can use, because I wasn't mad because that's the way life is. I wasn't sad because I'm not that kind of person, but I was definitely bummed out because there were so many things I wanted to achieve for this Worlds because I was graduating to another division. So ever since the Worlds was announced that it was going to be canceled, I thought, okay, this is a good opportunity for me to sort of tidy up some of the things that I haven't been able to master this year. So I sort of I kept up with my training, but I refocused it on segments or specific techniques that I had to sort of iron out. And at that point, there were no online tournaments that had been announced, but I knew I had to keep working at getting better. Then there was a online tournament that was international. I can't think of the name. It's a Daedo, D-A-E-D-O. It was the first online tournament that I did. I gotta be honest. Okay, number one, I never did it before. Okay, number two, I kind of thought that I was good and I didn't need that many takes, because I video train all the time. So video training for me is like every day. So reality is I took 2 takes. I submitted my video. It wasn't the best video because video does not show so well online, I guess. And I looked rather slow and deliberate. And I got second place. And I don't even think that was a deserved second place because it's still I had still good techniques. But anyways, so I got second place. And then that made me kind of determined. I was like, man, I got to get better at this. And then the Summer of Poomsae came along. There were other online tournaments that were sort of popping up. The Deo was the first one that I did, and I think that was one of the first ones that were ever announced. The entry fee was like $15. It was like a no-brainer. You got to do it, right? Other tournaments had come up, but I wasn't quite ready for that because I was still dealing with losing on an online tournament. And so then the Summer of Poomsae came up. I wasn't going to do it, but Coach Dan Jung suggested that we all do it. On that one, I took 4 days of videoing, and I gotta tell you, it was better, but there is the other problem with that is by the 4th day I was rather tired and I wobbled on a video and I couldn't pull myself together to do another video because the access I have to a dojang wasn't like immediate. So I was like, that's the best I got. So I also lost on that one too because of that wobble. So I am just learning each day on how to do this. And so you know what? The 3rd one, I'm going to get right. So I've signed up for 2 other ones. I signed up for one that's, I can't think of the name, Lent, L-E-N-T, Lent tournament online. And I'm also going to do the online NCTA tournament. So I think a live Zoom one is going to be interesting. So anyways, so I'm training, I'm working towards those things. I train 4 or 5 days a week. So, okay, then I should tell you guys a bit of advice before you leave me. And my advice to you, it really shouldn't be an advice, but when you are practicing Poomsae, don't be so in love with what you're doing that you cannot let it go, because change in Poomsae always will equal success and betterment. So I think of myself. and the mindset that I had going into the online Poomsae things, and I thought that I was already pretty good. Turns out I'm not, so I still have to work at it, and that should be what you do too. You are never where you are at, you are always traveling to where you're getting to. Thank you for having me.
And this is Chloe Ng.
Here's Chloe.
I have not seen this training space. This is pretty cool. This is Q's Martial Arts and Team M Community Poomsae Program athlete here, and she is trained by Master Q and An Hui and Lao Wen.
Here are those mats again we mentioned on a different episode. They're like judo or aikido mats, not the puzzle mats that we're used to, but they are a little bit squishier because those martial arts you can fall, and so jiu-jitsu will also use them. But she's doing a good job of managing those transitions and stances. A little bit wide on the pato there, but probably within acceptable distance.
So Chloe receives a 6.97 on her first Poomsae and moves on to take a chill jump. So here we want to have that nice upright vertical position. She's kicking really nice and high. This looks great. Wow. Good extension here. And
Very little upper body movement on those front kicks too.
Right.
No hunching or shoulders.
Here we want that kind of nice vertical posture as well. And it's hard to tell where the shoulders are in this position, but certainly on this turn, we can now see whether or not she's got a nice strong vertical position, her shoulders over her hips on this finished position there before she heads to the rear. So we don't see that hand swinging out wide or any other issues like that. So nice strong finish on take a chill.
A good cheat there back to her line. I was wondering where she was going to do it. She was over about a foot to the left and had to get back over to the right. No deductions there from the judges. She pulls out a 7.43.
Almost a whole half point higher than her first score. So she ends up with a 7.2.
Yeah, Coach Brand, this cutoff to the semis is going to be so close to the sevens. We have so many athletes in the sevens. I wouldn't be surprised if it was a 7.2 or 7.3.
Right, because we don't have many in the fives or lower sixes for sure. So this is going to be a real battle. Here we have Miyako, and again from U.S. Taekwondo Center in Colorado, coached by Master Sean Jung. Looking like she's really trying to make these hand techniques very accurate. A little wide on some of the stances, so she could pull those in just a little bit, maybe become more stable because of it. So we'll see that maybe on this landing here, a little wide. So just pull that in just a little bit, and maybe she would feel a little bit more comfortable.
Sure.
So her first score is 7.3. Wow. That really paid off to have that accuracy in those hand techniques, and she picked a pace that worked for her for sure. 7.3.
And I can't tell based on the video, but it looks like she has a sandals tan or like a flip-flop tan on her foot. I hope she gets closer so I can take a look. But it seems like she's getting a lot of good sun, maybe spending some time outdoors there out in Colorado. I know they have a lot of outdoor activities you can do while socially distanced, which is nice.
This is what I'm seeing right here, just a little bit wide and maybe a little short, but man, she's really able to push her power on this last line. I think that's what the referees are enjoying about her performance. So she received a 7.3 on her first one and another one on the second. It's pretty easy to do the calculation for the final score there. So she ended up with a 7.3. Next up, we have Caitlin Kemp, and she's training at Westside Taekwondo in New York, and her coach is Master Hillary Monaco.
Yep, Caitlin is part of our sister school, sort of. So I get to see Caitlin at tournaments, and she will warm up with our Boston team. So I've known Caitlin for a few years now, and she's 16 in high school, and she just got her second degree right before the pandemic hit. So she was really excited and grateful that she got to do that test.
Oh, wow. She looked like she was really trying to extend, really push through to get as much extension as possible there. And that was real strong on that last step, that back fist to the rear. So Caitlin Kim moved through Taega Gojang and earning a score of 7.2. Quite a few athletes at about that level. It's really going to be quite the battle for the top 35. This division has quite a bit of talent in it. And the referees have to stay super focused to make sure that their memories are intact as they go through all 70 athletes. That's quite a big job for them.
Right. I know as athletes, we're always trying to figure out, like, what do the referees want? Like, how are the scores coming out? But it's also really hard to be a referee. And I do highly encourage, if you're questioning, you know, what's going on or anything, take a referee course. Go to one of the USAT referee Poomsae seminars that we have coming up over the next few months. And that way you can learn a little bit more about kind of the backside of what's going on in the judging, and then be able to help your athletes or yourself, if you are an athlete, learn a little bit more about the sport. And just really quickly before we move on from Caitlin, I want to note that she's part of a K-pop dance club at her high school, which is awesome. So she doesn't just like K-pop, she does the dances. And she gets a 7.23 on her second form for a total of 7.22.
So up next is competitor number 46. So we still have quite a few athletes to go here. This is Kelly Wong from Eagle Taekwondo in California. She's coached by Master Jung Jin.
And there's quite a lot of schools out there in California, but California is a huge state, so I know that they come from all over the state of California. There's, you know, all the way down in San Diego, up through LA, San Francisco, lots of schools to keep track of. But that also means that basically no matter where you live in the country, there's probably a Poomsae school near enough to you that you could get some training in. And Eagles is one of the top schools right now. Kelly just doing a really great Ojang.
Yeah, she had some super extension and gets well rewarded for it. 7.8 for that Taega Ojang. Really wonderful kicking ability.
And really high accuracy as well, 3.5 and a 3.6 from two of those judges. So barely any deductions on accuracy. Basically kicking herself in the face. Wow. Wow.
Yeah, the highest you can get on the accuracy score is 4.0. So she did quite well on that. And then for the presentation, up to 6.
She's just a little bit less stable in some of these dynamic movements than in the first form, but still, I mean, I'm being very, very nitpicky because everything looks great.
Well, I think her mentality is to try to attack through this Poomsae and get as much speed and power on individual movements as possible. And sometimes we suffer a little bit for that. She receives a 7.73, another really high score. Combined with her 7.8, it's really going to boost her up toward the top of the pack with 7.77.
Yeah, that might be tied with Megan Lee for number 1. She's definitely up there.
Exactly. So it's going to be really fun to see the next set of standings. This is Allison de Guzman. And Allison is from Elite Taekwondo Academy and Team M Community Poomsae program. And she's coached by Master Jeff Avila and Anqui and Long Nguyen.
And I believe we saw Allison's brother Jake de Guzman in a previous episode. And she also does freestyle at the 2020 Grand Slam. She got second place in freestyle individual, second place in freestyle mixed teams, and places a lot at Nationals, US Open. So really great experience here, high level athlete in both in freestyle, but also here in recognized.
And Allison receives a score of 7.1 for her first Poomsae.
시작.
She has really nice posture here in this line. Real vertical, real strong presence. And then continues it here. Able to put a lot of power into the technique because her stance height is appropriate for her size. And same thing here. So really consistent on the height of the stances, the length of the stances, and that allows her to push a lot of power through the hand techniques.
Yeah, I'm definitely seeing a lot more power than with some of the other athletes.
We mention this all the time about how we can't quite capture it all on video as we're viewing it. It may look like it's actually about 80% of what it would be if we saw it, face to face. That was a really strong Poomsae there. She received a score of 7.33 for that. And her final score is 7.22.
준비.
This is Anna Lee, and she trains in New Jersey. She trains at Master J's World Class Taekwondo, and she's coached by Master Hyun Ju.
I remember this backdrop. It was so cool with the American and Korean flags on both sides and those characters in the middle there.
She's moving what looks to be a pretty quick pace. So maybe slowing it down just a little bit, making sure that she can extend every stance, finish every hand technique just like she wants to, will help a little bit. But sometimes, we record many times and we're picking the best one. 6.8 was what she receives for the first one. And the first time out in an online Poomsae tournament, when you're recording over and over again, sometimes it's hard to know,
시작.
on the video.
All right, showing pretty good flexibility on the front kicks, but could definitely sit lower in almost all of these stances. And Coach Brand, if you had to pick if you're still training, I mean, we're all still training. I know I kind of go through this thought process myself as, should I focus on trying to add power? Should I try and be cleaner? Work on, trying to get that perfect accuracy and then add in a click at the end for, those athletes watching and saying, I really liked that one. Anna here gets a 6.67 on her second form and a total score of 6.73. But how do you kind of think about that balance between power and accuracy, and what should people work on?
Let's take a look at the standings first. We have Megan Lee, Kelly Wong, and Grace Rue in the top spots, followed by Caitlin Reclusado and Ana Valdez.
So take a look at those rankings, see where you are, where your athlete is, take pictures, comment in that YouTube section, let us know how great your athlete is doing. We just think that this division is packed with superstars. I can't believe how many scores in the sevens we have and how well everybody is doing. So really, congratulations to all of our athletes so far. We're now moving on to Christina Threlkeld. She's number 49, and we are going up to 70 athletes, everyone. Remember, 70 athletes in this division, and we're taking the top 35 to semis.
So you were asking about where to start, what to focus on or what to prioritize. And I would say start from the floor up, start from the bottom up, right? We can't throw great power unless we have a strong foundation. So let's start at the stances first, right? And make those correct for our body type, for our size. Spend a lot of time there making sure that you're super solid. Then it's not as difficult to layer on top those hand techniques after. Making sure then whatever step you're doing, it equals 7.53 for Christina. Good job on that first one for sure. So the length of the stance and the length in time of the hand technique should be exactly the same. So the nicer, cleaner stances will afford you enough time to throw out a strong hand technique. So start with the stances first, is what I would say, and then work your way up.
That's great advice. I think we can all take that approach. And even if we're, talented athletes who've competed at international events, you always have more work to do. Christina looks really great here, though. Her ojong was really solid, good side kicks, and she also has a really good track record with her competition. She's made the 2019 and 2020 AAU national team for recognized individual Poomsae, and at the 2019 U.S. Open competed in junior female team where she got a silver medal. So lots of experience, Christina, and she did a really great job on Chojong as well, 7.37. And her combined score will be a 7.45. So, wow. I even hesitate to say who's going to make it into the semis because we just don't know what that cutoff is going to be. I would have thought so many of these athletes did a good enough job, but there's just such a talented pool in this junior female division that it's going to be really hard to see some of these athletes not make it to the semis.
Yeah, it's a race, and the score is going to be really high, much higher than other divisions for sure. You just have to wait and see. This is Sierra Ryan up now on your screen, and Sierra is from U.S. Martial Arts Center in Washington, and she's coached by Master Jason Lee. Right here, the extension, the alignment of the kick, I could see her effort, maybe spending a little bit more time on where that kick is aligned would help her, but man, she's got great flexibility. So her first score is 6.63.
Sierra says that her life is pretty much school and Taekwondo, but she has no complaints. And she just recently got her very first job, which is an instructor at the U.S. Martial Arts Center, her dojang. So that's always great. My first job was also at my dojang. I started out volunteering, helping out, leading, warm-ups, and then you work your way up until you're leading full classes. And I think it's just a really great ability for us as athletes to get leadership experience and then continue to be an athlete and just be in that really supportive environment.
Yeah, she's in good company. Many athletes do the same thing, try to balance their schoolwork and Taekwondo, about 50-50 for many athletes, especially those that are really trying hard to making sure they get to that elite level in competition. That is Sierra Ryan finishing up with Taekwondo Chojang. She receives another 6.63.
Yeah, you talk about trying to find that balance. It is always hard. When I made my first collegiate team, I was a senior in college, and I was writing my thesis, my senior thesis, and doing all of these things, but I was trying to train as much as I could. And my roommates almost had an intervention for me because they were worried that I wasn't going to graduate because I was spending so much time training. So finding that balance, very important, but I do think it's a really great sport and I enjoy it. And here we have Autumn Tully.
Autumn Tully is from Illinois. She trains at Flying V Martial Arts and the Team M Community Poomsae program. She's coached by Master Vincent, and also coaches An Kui and Long Wen. So how'd that work out for you, Miyako? Were you able to graduate and everything worked out? Okay?
Yep, I still graduated. I finished my thesis. It was down to about the last 5 minutes. I was printing it out and literally ran it into my department. Autumn gets a 7.2, and hopefully she has better time management than I did as a senior in college. Like the row of bobs there as her audience cheering her on. It's always hard to get your shoulders to turn in that scissor block motion. Most athletes can get the turn on the first one, but then it's pretty square on the second. So really relaxing your upper body enough to be able to turn in between both of the scissor blocks and then click into place without any extra motion. It's definitely one of the harder bars. We've mentioned Childong is difficult, lots of weird moves you don't do in other forms. So a lot of accuracy work to be done in these forms, but Allison doing really well, getting a 7.17 on her second form. So her combined score comes to 7.18.
Up next is athlete number 52, Katerina Sokolova. And she trains in Texas with Lee's U.S. Taekwondo, and her coach is Master Woon Lee, who is a member of our National Poomsae team in 2020. He's in the Master 2 division as our male representative in that division. And this is his athlete here, Katerina Sokolova.
And Katerina just got her black belt recently because she competed at 2019 nationals as a red belt. So just recently aging up into this black belt division, has to learn all of these forms and doing a pretty solid job here. Of course, a little bit of accuracy to continue to work through, but she gets a 6.73. Katerina really trying to stay low in some of these stances. Much harder front stance to front stance. The longer your stances are, the harder it is to stay low in the transitions and keep that body upright. So we are seeing a little bit of a lean forward, like we've mentioned in other episodes and other athletes, but doing a good job, doing good work.
바로 셋.
So Katerina ends up with a score of 6.47 for that second Poomsae and a combined score of 6.6. So I think we have around 32, 33 athletes in this division that have scores of over 7. So this is going to be, as we mentioned before, a battle for who's going to make that cut.
시작.
This is Irene. Oh, sorry, I misspoke there. This is Brooke Whiteleather.
It's an awesome name. I feel like there has to be a family history to her last name. Like they were cattle ranchers and they had some special cow and it came out white leather and they sold awesome like Gucci purses or something. So Brooke, let us know. That's the story I've concocted about your family history in my head.
바로.
Okay. So this is Brooke.
Sure.
Of course, not listening to us at all. She scored 6.67. Familiar, that was the score of the last competitor as well. 6.67 for Brooke Whiteleather.
시작.
Of course, the athletes nor the referees can hear us as we do the commentary, which is wonderful. Nobody needs to be distracted by our entertainment value.
I've done commentary at the NCTA tournament, which is a live tournament, and it's all on Zoom. So the athletes can hear me talking, the referees can hear me talking. So I can't say anything about the form itself and only talk during the scoring part in between forms. So it's nice to be able to comment on the forms and actually, talk about some things so that when you guys are watching, you can learn a little bit and notice what we're noticing. And we hope that you're enjoying this as much as we are.
It's Brooke Whiteleather finishing that second Poomsae with a score of 6.43. The score might have been impacted a little bit by the kicking techniques to the rear. We would definitely want to target the head on those. So she receives a 6.55 for her combined score. This is Irene Ho. Irene trains in Colorado at the Briargate USTC and she is coached by Master Ho-jung Park. I definitely remember this setting here because it has a real cool mat setup as well as some targets in the area as well. So this is a nice big space, plenty enough room for the Poomsae she's going to be doing here.
Whoop.
So
It was barely kicked into the window.
She almost went outside on that last kick, but was able to recover. A little bit of a wide stance on that last side kick recovery, and finished strong on that last back fist. So we do have to make sure we're composed and balanced on the side kicks. She received a score of 6.4 on that first Poomsae.
I'm not sure that she fully made it back to her mark. Make sure that you want to hit that mark on every form except for Kumgang and Taeguk 1 and like Jitae. But for this group, their competition forms, it's just Kumgang.
And Yukjong, she just has to know how to step back properly to hit it. A lot of people are off on Yukjong, so that's kind of a nightmare there for some athletes, knowing that you actually do have to land on the mark, but you got to go backwards to do it. So here she's on Chojan, moving toward that window space, clearing it nice and easy before going to the other side.
Could see a little bit longer stances. You're supposed to take a full front stance length there after the knee into the ribcage hit. So maybe just starting a little bit further to her left towards that mirror, just a few inches would have given her enough space to really push the width on that bar. But maybe taking some accuracy hits from the judges there, and total score of 6.33 on the second form for a combined score of 6.37.
We'll have the standings for you again in just a few minutes. Oh, there they are, right there. Take a look at them, maybe take a picture, spend some time chatting with your friends and family about how this is all laying out here. So we have all the way up to athlete number 54 now. So just 16 or so athletes to go until we hit number 70. And that will be our total athlete group in this division for the junior female black preliminary round. And we'll be taking the top 35, of course.
And this has been such an exciting division, Coach Brand. They're all so talented. I can't wait for the semifinals, and then the finals is just going to be, amazing. We're going to see those scores jump up to the 8s probably, like we did with the senior 1 athletes.
Yeah, these scores are super high. Some of the highest we've seen in the whole Summer of Poomsae so far. So the athletes should be really proud of themselves for all their training, all the time they're putting into this, making sure their performance is as strong as possible. This is LEU. And LEU, of course, in the same setting that we've seen many times now. She trains at Team Champions Bayside in New York, and she's coached by Master Andrew Oh. Good, strong performance there, really trying to reach up for the height of the side kick. And she received 7.17.
Well, Coach Brand, my cat Taco has joined us to watch these last 20 or so athletes, and she thinks that Ellie is doing a really great job pushing the height of those front kicks. A little bit of extra shoulder motion as she's trying to generate power here. But like we said, it is kind of a give and take. Do you want to push the power and try and show that presentation? You might take some hits on the accuracy.
Did you change your cat's name?
I have 2 cats.
With Nacho.
I have Taco and Nacho.
Oh, okay. Wow.
And it's really terms of endearment because they are my favorite types of food, and I am part Mexican, so I feel okay naming them those things.
That's LEU finishing up. Taegu Chojan received a strong score there, 7.07, following her first score of 7.17. Hopefully everyone's at home keeping track too, jotting down the scores to see where the cut might take place in this huge division of 70 athletes here in this preliminary round. So our athlete number 56 is Sydney Pasqua. And Sydney is from Diamond Taekwondo in California. She's coached by Master Brian Joe and Esther Joe.
Right, both athletes who are very well known in their divisions, Master Joe and Esther, out of Virginia. And she says she just started competing a couple of years ago, and in 2019 made it to the finals at Virginia States. Some of these state championships can be very competitive, and I know Virginia and California are two of those, especially in the younger age divisions.
Taro.
Well, her sidekicks look as though they're developing quite nicely, and she has a lot of support at her club, so I'm sure she'll do well in the future. She starts off with a score of 5.77, so a few accuracy issues there, but I'm sure she can work those out. She got a few deductions there, actually 0.9, and that really factored into her score. So she went, deductions really factored in there.
And it might possibly be for going out of bounds. So really be careful that when you're filming this, especially if you're in one of the youth or tiger divisions, I'm not sure what they call them, dragon, one of the younger divisions. If you haven't recorded and sent them in yet, make sure you're really in camera, nice frame rate, correct uniform if possible, and then you won't get any of those deductions.
Right, we have a tutorial video on how to record yourself that I did prior to the beginning of Summer of Poomsae. She received a score of 6.6 for the second Poomsae. So no deductions on that one. Receives a total score of 6.18. So if you want to refer to that at any time, you can find that on the USAT website, how to record your Poomsae to make sure you have the best advantage. So it goes over, the distance from the camera, the proper lighting, and just some really good tips for you to think about as you're putting your presentation together. This is Anna Cho. And Anna is from Oklahoma. Great to see somebody representing Oklahoma. She's from Golden Dragon Taekwondo, and she's coached by Master Fansu So.
And she's competed in a lot of events. Recently, she was in the first WTPA Live Poomsae Test event where she did well. She just gets a 7.27 here on her first form. Also competed bronze at the 2020 NCTA Championships, and she's gone to the US Open where she competed in junior team and got a bronze. So lots of experience here in this athlete. I haven't heard of her school before from Oklahoma. So like we said, it's really great to get to learn about some of these other schools all over the country. There really are places everywhere for you to train. If you're watching this and you're a color belt, go find a school, or if you go to college, there are lots of schools all over the country. So it's really great to just get to see how spread out our Poomsae athletes are.
Nice strong performance from Anna. She looks like she does have experience with online events. She's just the right spot from the camp. She receives a 7.43. Her second Poomsae take Chojang, and her combined score is 7.35. So that might be right about where the cutoff might happen, or maybe closer to 7.2. What do you think, Miyako?
I think probably closer to 7.2, which is crazy to say for semis. Right. We're going to be cutting out so many people who got sevens, but they're all just doing so well.
Yeah, we're used to those cutoff scores being around 6.68, 6.7, right around there. And these are just monster scores here from this junior female black belt preliminary round.
This is Alana Kem from Bristow, Virginia. She trains with U.S. Tigers, coached by Master Dennis Kim.
Hello.
And her first ever USAT event was Virginia State Championships in 2019 last year. And then she went on to compete in junior pairs and female. So she gets a 7.1, which just with a year of experience at USAT is a really great score.
That is fantastic job for Alana Kim on Take a Go Jump.
She says her hobbies include underwater robotics. I don't even know what that is, but in high school, that's amazing to be studying that. And those underwater robotics, those drones underwater, not that anybody asked, but it's going to be super important. You know, we have a lot of internet lines that go underwater from China down to South America, as well as like there's a lot of mining underwater. So that could be a very lucrative career in the future, Alana, if you keep at it. And she had a really great form there as well. She gets a score of 7.0. So we'll see. Once we get those rankings, we'll have a good idea of around where the score will be for the semis. She gets a total score of 7.05.
And here's Megan Cho. Megan is from Tiger Martial Arts and trains in Illinois with her coach, Master Bo-Young Kim. She's very intentional as she's coming forward, knowing exactly where she wants to land those techniques. Reaching out with her stances as far as she can. And nice high side kicks. Really pushing them out there. Again, ends up in a nice long stance as she recovers from the kicks. So let's see how well the referees appreciate Megan Cho's performance. She receives a 7.33, nice strong score for this division.
Stop!
She's making really good use of opening up her arms, really getting a full reach for these push blocks. Here's that dreaded scissor block section.
Dreaded. I think this area right here, this section is the most fun of the Poomsae.
It is. I agree. I think it is the most fun, but it has so many potentials for accuracy deductions and leaning forward. Can you lose your balance? Did you not step far enough? So I think it's a high risk, high reward if you push it.
Very fun, very exciting. That's what Miyako meant to say. Very fun and very exciting. Poomsae, Taegu Chojang. Megan Cho receives a higher score for that one. Good job. 7.37 after a first score of 7.33 for Taegu Chojang. So her combined score is 7.35. So now we're down to just 10, 11 athletes or so. That's fun.
We're here at the Summer of Poomsae presented by USA Taekwondo, and I'm Jason Poos, your host, with who? This is Michelle Ortiz, a junior female black belt competitor that is competing here in our Summer of Poomsae. Michelle, how you doing this afternoon?
I'm great, sir. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thanks for asking. Let's get right to some of the questions that I've been thinking about to ask you. First, virtual competition, so different. Summer of Poomsae, such a good tournament presented by USA Taekwondo. They come out and giving you this avenue to compete, but it is different. What differences have you seen from this compared to a larger, more in-person event?
Well, first of all, I feel like it's been a really fun experience for me. I like being able to, film and be in a home setting. I get to use my dojang here to record all my videos, so that's nice. And then I do miss the live setting of the tournaments and having the crowd there. But I like how with recording videos, being a perfectionist like me, I can record them over and over until I have a video that I like and I feel like is good to send in. So it's definitely been different, but I like it. I think it's fun.
Yeah, it's been really fun to watch. It's been really fun to see. And by the way, we've seen people doing their Poomsae in homes. We've seen them do them outside, and we've seen them doing it in beautiful dojangs like yours. And it is really, you have a beautiful dojang there.
Thank you.
So yeah, fantastic. So Michelle, you have a unique talent. And I think the membership always wants to hear about our athletes and their unique talent. So tell us more about your unique talent business.
So outside of Taekwondo, I actually have a lettering business. And I just started it kind of this year. It kind of just started this year. And so basically what I do is I hope to inspire other people with my calligraphy, hand lettering, and word art. I actually teach it too, to all ages. Pretty much anyone that's willing to learn. So it all started with making boards for my martial arts school. I would just write on them. And then I'd get a whole bunch of compliments and people just asking if maybe I can make a personalized item or a board. And so that's kind of where my lettering business started. So here's an example of what.
Yeah, that looks amazing. Yeah, this is such a cool idea. I want to learn calligraphy, by the way. So I'm going to try to hit you up at competition to see if you can help me with that. I think that's fascinating, and I'm sure you're doing it very well. That's awesome. I mean, all I got to say is I think things like that are so fascinating, unique, and really is. So congratulations on coming up with something completely different than honestly what I've got on in your interview so far. And I'm sure you'll get plenty of requests for that type of board now that the membership has seen it. So don't be surprised and cut me in on your business now because I'm getting you some business here. So I'm just kidding with you. Look, it's Michelle Ortiz, the multi-talented, multifaceted Michelle Ortiz joining us here today. Michelle, thank you so much for spending some time with me on the Summer of Poomsae. Again, good luck in the competition and good luck on your calligraphy lettering business. I'm sure it's going to be great.
Thank you so much, and thank you for having me.
Anytime.
We'll continue with Michelle Ortiz. And Michelle is from Oregon. Nice to see athletes from Oregon. We haven't seen a huge amount of them so far. Maybe they're still coming up. But she's from U.S. World Class Taekwondo in Gresham, and her coach is Master Sam Leiter.
It was so great to get to hear a little bit from Michelle in that interview, and she has such a great competition record. She also competes in sparring, so she gets a 7.37 here on her Poomsae. But I do just want to mention she went to the USAT Sparring Talent ID Camp, and she just turned 15, so she's just entering this junior division for Poomsae. She also competed in the San Juan Open in Puerto Rico in 2019, like the week after she had her 3rd degree black belt test. So that can always be hard. I know when I'm pushing at tests or at tournaments, I'm so sore. And so for her to go back to back and compete and get 2 gold, 1 silver, and a bronze at that Puerto Rico tournament is just really very impressive. A really dedicated and talented athlete overall.
It's fantastic to be able to hear a little bit more about each of the athletes or our highlighted athletes in each division. Get to know more about them. Like as she's coming forward, Michelle looks very like intense and serious. So it's nice to see the other side of her. Wow, huge score for her second Poomsae Taeguk Cheoljung, 7.57. Definitely one of the higher ones in this little last group of athletes in the division. 7.47 is her total. And here's the standings again. We're going to go all the way up to number 60 now.
And let's take a look at that number 35 just to get an idea with 10 more athletes to go. So here that 35 is a 7.12, and it's actually a 3-way tie for 33rd place. So 7.12 for now, but we still have 10 more athletes to go, everybody. Make sure you're taking a look, taking notes, write down where your athlete is, congratulate them. Again, this is such an amazing division and everyone's done a really great job putting themselves out there, doing all the recording. I think that we're all learning a lot over the course of this tournament, and it will definitely help us and come through for the next tournament, which might be virtual for a few more months.
This is Eunice Lee. She's from New York and she trains with Master Suji Kang. We have so many strong athletes. It's going to be a shame that not everybody can get into the semifinal round. A few short stances here for Eunice. Maybe extend a few of those out more and drop a little bit lower in each of the stances. You don't need to rush through the Poomsae. You can choose a timing that works best for your body. And that was Eunice Lee finishing up with Taeguk Ojang, and she receives a score of 7.13.
So that's going to be right there on the edge of our cutoff. We're not sure what it will turn out to be. So let's see if she can get a slightly higher score and really try and secure her place in the semis.
Looks like on this one, she's trying to pick a little bit of a slower pace, make sure she finishes every technique. Which may pay off really for her in this second Poomsae Taeguk Chiljang. So she received a 7.13 in the first and a little bit lower, like many of the athletes in the second received a 7.03 in Taeguk Chiljang. And her combined score, of course, coming in at 7.08. Our next athlete, number 62, is Soyeon Park. And looks like she's training there at Kim's K Taekwondo in Georgia. And she's coached by Master Sunjin Kim.
Also has a lot of recent experience. 2020 Open, US Open, her freestyle team got first place. And at the President's Cup back in October, November, her Female Junior team got second place. So both freestyle and recognized athlete. Like we mentioned, there's that air track there in the background. They must get a lot of practice tricking, doing the flips and tricks. And she is also a really talented, recognized, look, those side kicks were nearly vertical and good control coming out of them too.
Yeah, she had really great control. That is Soyeon Park. Her first Poomsae of Taeguk Ojang received a 7.53. Yeah, nice, strong, almost vertical front kick. She's really pushing high on those. Taeguk Chiljang doesn't have a ton of kicks, so you really have to make sure that each one counts.
Right, I always think of Chiljang as having front kicks, but there's really only those two in the beginning, and then this dynamic bar here with the scissor blocks to get to the top, and then that last bar where on video all we can really see is your back, so you have to do a lot to make it clean and show us something. So those two front kicks at the beginning are really important.
Yeah, Soyeon Park finishing up Taeguk Chiljang. She received a 7.53 for the first, and she receives a 7.5 for the second Poomsae, and has a total score of 7.52.
So that's definitely one of the higher scores, at least since the 49th athlete here on my current page of rankings that I'm listing. She's the highest of 49 to 62 athletes. We still have just about 8 more to go here.
This is Ariana Ramos. and she's from Illinois, also Flying V Martial Arts. She's coached by Master Vince Vienna. So she's a member of quite a big team here from Flying V. Nice high kick there. You can see the kick well over her head to the rear. And wow, nice high side kicks as well. Really pushing up.
And Ariana just recently got her black belt at 2019 Nationals. She was a red belt where she won a bronze medal. But her first competition as a black belt was at one of the Poomsae Grand Slams. So really just aging into this division as a black belt and getting a 6.77 on her first form.
Yeah, that was a really good effort on that first one, especially the kicking technique. She was really trying to push as high as she could. On Chiljung here, kicking at her head or over her head on those two. Maybe go a little bit lower on that Boomsogi to the sides. Because she's pretty deep on these right here. So you just want to match up the height of all the stances, whether it's front stance, back stance, horse stance, tiger stance, they all need to be the same height. So just having that consistency throughout the Poomsae will provide you with a lot of balance.
And she did a really good job stepping into that front stance length distance into the rib cage hits. One of the longer steps that I've seen from anyone in this division. So nice job really pushing that, especially as a new black belt here. So Ariana, really great job. And you get a 7.0 on your second form for a total of 6.88.
Yeah, so she boosted up that score quite a bit with that second Poomsae, and she should be very proud of that because that's not easy to do. Here we have our athlete number 64, Ria Agarwal. Ria is from California, and she trains with the Dewangale Poomsae team under Master Sangjae Lee. Getting her kicks nice and high. Want to make sure that back fist is accurate. Going as high as the philtrum would be what the referees are looking for. Nice high front kick to the rear as well. Easily being able to spot her kick going over her head. A nice strong finish to Tega Ojung for Ria Agarwal. Wow, nice strong score, 7.4 for her first one. Wow, this is pretty amazing here. These last few competitors really coming in strong.
Yeah, Ria says that she competed back at the 2018 President's Cup and got a bronze medal in cadet female team, but then didn't compete from then until February of 2020. So taking off over a year between competitions, just coming back into it now and doing a really great job so far. Also, really fun fact here, she says that she was inspired to start Taekwondo by watching Mulan. So hopefully, Ria, you enjoy the new live action Mulan, which is coming out. And I also, Mulan was one of my favorite Disney movies, along with Lilo and Stitch, and now Moana because of my Hawaiian family.
Well, that's a fun reason to start Taekwondo. Ria receives a 7.37. And now just these last 6 competitors or so, 1, 2, 3, 4, yeah, this last group right here is really pushing the scores up. So her final score is 7.38. This is Kali Waldman. And Callie is from Arizona. She trains with Arizona Pride. And she's coached by Master Ruben Lawley and Megan Yee. One thing that all these Arizona Pride athletes have in common is they're really intentional. They know where that end spot is, or they really want to target and really try to hit it hard. We've seen several athletes so far from the Arizona Pride team, and that seems to be what they all have in common. So for her first Poomsae, Kali receives a 7.27.
Yeah, she's showing really great flexibility and control. And like you mentioned, I think really just clarity of motion is something that this Pride team has. And I think that does come from Megan Yee, who's one of their coaches, who I also feel like always had that clear movement. So that's nice. It's really coming through in her athletes now as well.
Her movement and not a lot of extra movement. The core is pretty sound and calm. So she has that real strong finish. So this goes to what we were talking about before, this real strong base and foundation in the stances that allows you to do that. So there's Callie finishing up on take a show jump. She received a 7.27 for the first score and now receives a 7.23, just a little bit lower for the second score. So in the standings, so she has a 7.25 here, so that in the standings here, the general standings, that line is inching up a little bit.
Right, and when we checked about 10 athletes ago, it was close to like a 7.18 or something. It might be closer to that 7.2, 7.25, we're not sure. So make sure to check the standings when they do pop up and check for that number 35, because 35 athletes will be moving on to the semis.
Right, that was my guess a little bit earlier on in the division. That'd be around a 7.2. So it's going to be interesting to see how these final 5 competitors do with their scores. So this is Abigail McCormick, and Abigail is in a familiar dojang that we've seen many times.
바로
Her coach is Master Boyoung Kim.
차렷.
So she comes in with a 7.07.
시작.
And some of these, the Chiljang front kicks are so hard because you want to push that height. So you kind of push your hip forward, but then you have to pull it back to land in that stance that ends backwards. Normally your front kicks, you can really push the height, like on a tebak, to land in that forward front stance, but you can't do that in Chiljang or in Yukjang as well. Abigail taking nice long steps here.
Yeah, she's really like smooth across the floor. Really taking a lot of space to be able to extend out as far as she can.
차렷.
So she received a 7.07 for her first Poomsae and now a 7.0 for this one. So her final score for the two is coming in at 7.03. Up next is Maria Fitzgerald. Oh, here are the standings. So we're looking up toward that number 35.
So here we go. 35 is currently a 7.13.
Right.
With just 4 more athletes to go. So 7.13 right now is that cutoff. Look at your score, see if you're going to make it into the semis. That will be on a future episode that we're very excited to have all of these semifinal rounds coming up very soon.
Right, so we're down to just 4 more athletes, numbers 67 through 70. And it is closer to that 7.1. I thought it might be around 7.2, but that estimate was definitely off. This is Maria Fitzgerald. And looks like she's here in Minnesota. She is trained, I believe, by, although it doesn't say here, by Master Patrick Hawk.
And she's taking a really aggressive tempo here, really pushing the speed.
Yeah, just a moment more on that side kick so we could appreciate the beauty of that extension would be pretty cool.
And she's also kicking a lot higher than her arm would give her credit for. So pull your arm up, make sure it's parallel to your leg because your leg was up there nice and high. And she gets a 6.73 on Ojang.
Nice high front kicks going out there. I think, again, just another moment to extend them would be fun and exciting for us here at viewing it and for the judges to be able to pump up the score a little bit.
Right, it might just be a little bit too fast, letting us really appreciate all the work that she's doing, sinking into some of the stances just a little bit more. I don't think she took any deductions on the first one for going too fast, but I do think that we could appreciate if she just pauses in between the sections just a tad more. And she gets a 6.77 here on the second form. So Maria's combined score will come in at a 6.75.
Right. The referees are hoping to see some contrast, right? So any of the forms a little bit, any each technique with a little bit more speed at the end. So if everything is fast, it's kind of hard to demonstrate the contrast that's necessary. This is Francesca, mom. Oh, wow. She's named after my mom. Awesome. And everybody else's too. That's a fun name to have. So Francesca is athlete number 68. So we're nearing the end of our preliminary round. She trains at Happy Valley Martial Arts in Oregon, and she's trained by Master Miki Song, who also competed in the Summer of Poomsae. Really a fun, dynamic athlete to watch. So hopefully people can view that division as well. I believe that was a under 50 division. It's 6.9 for Francesca Mom's first Poomsae.
시작.
Looks like she's kind of grounding herself to throw nice high front kicks.
She could use just a little bit more shoulder rotation there on those scissor blocks, and then here coming into some of these blocks. It's really hard to know how much you should open up and when to stop, where you should be square, where to push through. So I think really the only way to learn is to watch other athletes and to just try and see what feels good and what looks good on your body, because we all have different body types, and so how we present things will be different athlete to athlete. And Francesca here gets a 6.67 on her second form. Little spread there on the accuracy, and her total comes to 6.78. We have just two more. Coach Brand, we're so close to knowing who's going to make it to the semifinals.
It's pretty exciting. It's a lot of good competition in this division. I'll be sorry to see any of these athletes not make it to the semifinal round for sure, because it looks like they've really put their heart into it. Lots of effort and time and coaching went into all of these performances. Looks like everyone has really done an excellent job of trying to hit their potential in the Summer of Poomsae event. This one, for example, just really trying to be as intentional as possible in each one of those techniques. So this is Vivian Vo, our 69th competitor in this division. And she's from Georgia. She trains at Hong Kong Martial Arts, and she's coached by Grandmaster Thong Huynh.
I do remember this school. I've seen just a couple of athletes, and I really liked her form. I felt like she had good power and connection, and she gets a 7.2. So right now it's right on that cutoff. I think she's probably just on it, but she might make it into the semis if she can keep up this second score, although we do know that a lot of athletes drop their second score here on Chiljong. So we'll see her first bar opening up really strong and nice high front kicks, though.
She has a really good demonstration of power as she goes through the lines of Chiljong. Really puts her core into it, lowers her center of gravity, and really tries to push. Now, if she can continue to do that without the up and down movement, should really be on to something. You need just to see a little bit more steadiness through the heights of all the stances through the Poomsae. And she receives a nice strong score, 7.43, much higher than her first one. I think it was 7.2. So her combined score is nice, 7.32.
So she will be going through to the semis, yeah.
We have our last competitor. Miyako, can you believe it? This is Hannah Noble, competitor number 70 in the junior female black belt preliminary round. Hannah is from a Manila Taekwondo and Team M Community Poomsae program. She's coached by Master Henry Cruz and coaches An Hui and Long Wen.
And I do remember her from Freestyle Poomsae, I believe, when she was a cadet. So she must just be aging up to this junior division now.
Nice strong finisher to Taeguk Ojang. And for that, Hannah Noble will receive a score on the first Poomsae of 7.2. Wow,
it's gonna be so close.
That's a big score there, Hannah. Good job. 7.2. Let's see how she does on the second one.
She doesn't have the highest front kicks, maybe a little bit slower tempo too, but very in control. So we'll see what the judges think about this tempo. That 7.2 score, we said the cutoff was about a 7.18 or so for that semi. So she's right on that line. Let's see if she's going to make it through to the semi. She's our last competitor, ladies and gentlemen. That was the last form for the junior 15 to 17 female division for the Summer of Poomsae prelim round.
And
I'm excited.
6.93. Well, that's going to be a huge score to have to play with here to find her final total score, 7.07. So may not be just enough. I had really good feeling that Hannah might be able to squeeze into that top 35. But let's go ahead and take a look at the standings here up to number 35. So there's your first 12 on your screen now. Maybe pause, take a good look. As each comes up, gets more and more exciting. And there it was, kind of between where you and I both thought it would be, this 7.1 or 7.2. So ending up at that 7.15, that was a big number there.
Right, that's crazy. I mean, look at these scores up to, I missed it, it was about 45 or so. The first 45 athletes, they all had scores above a 7. So that's just absolutely incredible and really just goes to show that all of you ladies in this division worked really hard and it paid off. Judges really appreciating what you're doing. So congratulations really to everyone who's competed so far in the prelim round.
Yeah, it was great that we saw a lot of athletes from all the way across the country, right? From Washington and California all the way to New York and Pennsylvania. We had athletes from all over the place in between too. So fun competition here in the junior female black belt preliminary round. So we're gonna wrap up. This is our last big division, right, Miyako? From here we move on, for black belts anyway, to the semifinal round. We will have in our next episode some of the lower belt divisions, and then moving on to the black belt semifinal round for the cadets. So a lot of action still coming up on Summer of Poomsae. But that was our last big division. After that, the divisions move on to the semifinal rounds for both color belts and black belts.
Welcome back. This is Jason and Sherman, and we are at the USA Taekwondo Summer of Poomsae. This is episode 4. This has been a great episode. We got to watch more of our junior female competitors. Actually, the rest of our junior female competitors.
Right.
Jay, what'd you think?
Yeah, just such a high level. I mean, there's 50 of them competing there. So it's so impressive again with their level of competition. Taegu 5 and Taegu 7. So
yeah,
like we talked about, doing more of a color belt form. So you've got to be so exact. And that's exactly what they were. So congratulations to all of our competitors. But as you know, some are moving into the semifinals, and that makes it exciting because from here on in, what is it, Sherm? It's all semifinals. Prelims are finished. We're ready for semis. I love it. I love it.
Yep.
So Sherm, how about this? How about we give you guys a little tease who's going to be in the next episode?
Oh, who's in episode 5, episode 5.
That's right.
We have, come in, you got to lean closer. This is a secret. We don't tell everybody yet. We have cadets, green, blue, red, and black belt. They're competing in their semifinal action in our next episode. So come on back, right? As you were. Yeah, so I was just thinking about the NFL and the NBA and the WNBA and the CBR and the BBR and the LOT and thinking about a lot of things, Jason, a lot of things. No, sorry. So we're excited to have our next episode is going to feature our first round of semifinals, and it's our cadets. It's green, blue, red, and black belts. Jay, I cannot wait because if we thought the action was intense before, now we're in the semis, and they all take it up a notch here.
They ratcheted it up a level, no doubt. So we're looking forward to the next episode. Sherman talked about it. It's all semifinals in the cadet division, male side. So for Sherman Nelson, I'm Jason Poos. You've been chopping it up with USA Taekwondo Summer of Poomsae, coming back with the semifinals.
Semifinals, y'all. Semifinal, y'all. Semi, y'all.